Keep it locked. Your station.
Thank you. Yes, it's true. I'm not good at all.
9 o'clock.
Mamas, una good morning, no. Help them to they smile every day for school. Make them they brush with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection because Colgate locks calcium in.
Keeps cavities out.
Get the best of everything you're looking for on radio. 98.9 Invicta FM.
Perceptions could change. Opinions can be formed with more and accurate information. Get all sides, views, and opinions on topical issues. Have your say on Perspectives. With Twin Alabi at 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays on Invicta 98.9 FM. Perspectives. All sides, all views, all individuals are welcome.
Good morning and welcome to the program Perspectives. Perspectives this morning reaching you on Invicta 98.9. And this morning we are looking at SEMA. I'm sure that it's not unfamiliar to all of you out there, but just what are the activities of SEMA? What are they involved in, and how well can you get to be part of what this agency is all about? That's more that we'll be talking about on the Perspective this morning, and I have with me as guest on the show Abubakar Hassan, who is the Executive Secretary of the State Emergency Management Agency, Kaduna State. Alhaji Abubakar Hassan, good morning and glad to have you on our show.
Good morning, Mr. Alabi. Good morning, Victor 98.9. Our listeners out there, I say good morning and please remember, COVID is real. Stay safe.
All right, COVID is real. Stay safe, and we all must stay safe in this period of this pandemic. State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA. A lot of us must have seen the activities of this agency in terms of people who related to flooding, fire outbreaks, and of course we do know of activities of bandits and all of that, where people are displaced from their homes, and of course SEMA has in most times and most cases have to come in to give succor and support to people. And then what are the activities of SEMA, as one would want to know, and how can we get them? How can we connect? How can you call? How can you ask for information of SEMA? Just as a brief, before we go into the program proper, SEMA and its activities.
Okay. Once again, good morning, listeners out there. In a nutshell, SEMA, State Emergency Management Agency, is the empathy part of governance. Okay, looking at the fact that humans are bound to be impacted by different levels of vulnerabilities, which, quote unquote, you call disasters that are around people due to human interactions between themselves and even nature. So, for SEMA, what we do is, with the support of the government, because we are a government institution, is to say what are those different levels of risk that are associated with human interactions with themselves and nature, and how do we come in to support the people to reduce the vulnerabilities of people or communities in such a way that we can reduce that level of pain that is associated with these different levels of risk, should they occur. So, but proactively, we as an organization or as an institution of government to ensure that we educate the people, we inform the people, we associate with people to understand these levels of risk that are within these communities or that are as a result of these interactions or level of interactions between people and the environment, and how we can together look at how we can resolve them so that it does not lead to issues of disaster at the end of the day. But looking at having said that, I will say on the government side, our major responsibility is to always review, assess, and then send credible recommendations to government in terms of what we have seen in there as risk that could pose a threat, and how government can put all the measures on ground to see that we ensure nothing goes wrong with this level of interactions. And what can we do should they occur in terms of getting people resettled back into their normal lives?
When you talk about risk, I'm interested in that. Are there ways that we can reduce the risk of these disasters?
Well, the most major or common denominator when you talk about risk reduction is information and communication. And on the basis of that, we have different levels of engagement that we have put on ground as an institution to see that, one, people are informed, adequately informed. Okay, and so by that, we try to communicate in different forums, or different modules are being employed to communicate with people, to engage with people, so that together we can sit, rub minds and understand, because some of these disasters are human induced. And you know, the human is the most unpredictable being. And as such, there is need for that constant engagement, constant interaction, so that together we can understand the different levels of risk that possibly are as a result of human interactions, human change in behavior that could ensure, or that could see that our communities are more vulnerable, or we have a reduction in our vulnerability due to this level of interaction. So information and communication are vital tools through which we can help to ensure that we have this reduced within our own communities.
Yeah, we go with seasons, and seasons come with their challenges too. I'm looking at a situation where we are, some would say, in the Harmattan periods, where wildfires and all of that, we get outbreaks of them. And then soon we'll be going into the rainy season too. These are seasons as they change. Now, the level of information that people get with the seasons, how satisfied are you with what the agency passes out?
Well, it's you see, it's an ongoing process. To us, in the State Emergency Management Agency, we do not rely just on the fact that we need to come to radio stations, for example, like the opportunity we have this morning to speak to the people out there, but beyond associating or collaborating with media organizations and the press, for example, we've opened up different channels and saying, in a nutshell, we have different stakeholders, both state and non-state actors, who collaborate with us to see that this level of reduction you're talking about, or this level of information has gone out there. For example, early this year, I will tell you, because we've seen the proliferation in the rate of fire incidences due to the Hamad situation, we had to take out a call, an engagement exercise within Kaduna Metropolis, cutting across Kaduna North, Kaduna South, Chikun and Igabi local government, as well as Zaria and Savongari, as well as in the southern part of Kaduna State, looking at the zonal office in Jamaa local government, to engage. What do I mean by engagement? This time around, carry out what sensitization exercises on the road. And we had to walk for as much as over 10 kilometers of walk on foot, and trying to create avenue, first of all, for visibility of this agency, for people to see that we're there, and to also associate the work of the fire service department to what we do as a state emergency management agency, to say that, look, this, you need to understand what we do, because if you do, then you will understand the level of risk is associated with this particular period of time they were in, to reduce the levels of fire. But you see, talking about fire again, we're not just talking about fire that could be as a result of what? Ash from coal usages, but we're talking about issues where our analysis and assessment of reports of fire incidences in Kaduna State have been as a result of electricity. And you know, electricity alone does not what cause the fire. It's something takes this electricity or energy into your home. So it means there is a pipe, a conduit. And this has led us to the engagement we've had early this year with the Kaduna State Electric. We've had engagements with what? The Standard Organization of Nigeria here in their with their representatives in Kaduna. And these are all ways through which we want to see that all stakeholders are brought on board to see that these levels of understanding, the level of understanding that people should get to know what should be and what should not, they know it. And that's why we're doing all of this. We've also taken our calls to the traditional institutions. We've visited leaders of those institutions. We've had engagement sections with them in Tudunwada, for example. Here in Sabon Tasha, we've had such interactions. And we're also moving to the bigger institutions within the traditional layer in Kaduna. For example, going to Zaria to have a bigger dialogue process with the institute, so that we use that platform, because the traditional institutions are up to the level of the ward, from the head to the Dagachi, as it's called in Hausa. That's the head of the unit. So using that, when we step down, we believe that it's also going to be an avenue for what this information about what we do, what we stand for, and what we are preaching gets to the people. But beyond that, a lot of times also we have a structure within the local governments, which is the Local Government Emergency Management Committee, which is headed by the local government vice chairman of all the 23 local governments. So people need to understand, they need to know that these structures exist, so that you do not think that SEMA is about the office in Kaduna, but there are alternate channels. And we also have a structure called the local, the volunteer system, which we have 5 people in each of the wards of these local governments. Okay, we have 3 males and 2 female in each of the wards, spread across. So, but like I told you, human interaction, human change in behavior, and so our efforts to ensure that people get to know what we do is going to be on an ongoing basis and never stops.
The meteorologists will always warn, warn about flooding and weather, forecast and all of that. But one thing that we've observed in Kaduna State is that each time the rains come, they come in their torrents, and sometimes we see, housing, submerged and all of that. And this is a recurrence that yearly we get to see that. With the warnings, I'm trying to bring in human interaction here. With the warnings that these people get by the riverbanks and all of that, they still would want to stay there. Where are we having challenges here?
Well, like I told you earlier, the human being is the most unpredictable being. But I will answer it this way. We have the agencies that are responsible at ensuring that people respect, quote unquote, the building codes of the state. And, we are not a state that allows people to violate codes. Everyone knows that when you're talking about Kaduna State, you're talking about the existence of the law. And this is where the law is being implemented, I will tell you. So, but again, let me look at the 2020 rains, and to see that immediately after the issues we've had, the challenges with the flooding in 2020, the different state actors came together and had a discussion in terms of what we need to do. What were those challenges that led to that? The assessments were done. Areas that actually needed to be distilled were identified. Buildings that violated these codes were all identified. And excuse me. So the effort at ensuring that, one, we've opened up those channels that today were being due to human-induced actions, for example, where people just carelessly, in violation of the conditions of roads, blocked drainages for whatever reasons. All those channels have been opened. Okay, and Aegis is Kaduna State Kajis is already also looking at those buildings along the river banks to see that, look, this time around we do not have issues that will get the state to begin to invest in trying to save lives of people that have, quote unquote, deliberately violated codes, and then will want us to invest to go and begin to save lives. Yes, we will save lives. Yes, lives are critical, lives are important, but breaking the law is a no in Kaduna State.
Well, nature will take its course, but let's talk about some other challenges that we're getting out of the state, and that's talking about insecurity. It's taking its toll on the people. People are, having their home, ancestral land, vacated because of these insecurity measures. And SEMA comes in here too, and so financial, burden on SEMA, in trying to take care, settle people or relief materials and all of that. Where are you finding your challenges here?
Well, you see, we need to begin to understand that governance is a changing phenomenon all over the world. And coming out of a pandemic situation, which we have not seen in the last 100 years, I would say the COVID situation has thrown the world upside down. People are thinking and rethinking how governance should be carried out. Economies of the world has gone down, so finances have dwindled. So I will tell you that we are also having a share of that. I will tell you. We know exactly what is happening to the economy in Nigeria. We've seen how our finances have gone down. So that also leaves us here in the state with also what meager resources, with vast challenges on ground. So now talking security that you mentioned, yes, we understand the security situation and how that is also impacting on our own internal operations as a state emergency management agency, meaning that where there is a proliferation in terms of security challenges, it means that our activities also will increase. But again, the resources, right? So if this, we need to understand that the state alone cannot shoulder responsibility of all these challenges. So one, the state as a stakeholder. Two, the individuals and communities as major stakeholders too. Three, what about other partners that we can depend on for support? So what am I saying? Opening up channels, alternate channels to what? Seeing how we can come together as a collective whole to be able to see and appreciate our issues and push the different areas that we can come in. Sometimes in managing this crisis, you may not be looking for finances, for example, sometimes. Maybe it goes beyond finance. Maybe it just goes into what? How you can arm people to be more vigilant. So teaching people early warning signals to understanding exactly how vulnerable they are to a risk is what you should be looking at, and not the issue of looking for finance. So you open up different channels, assessing the situation in whole, understanding what it is most critical, and that's what we've been doing in Kaduna State. You can see that there is a strong relationship, a strong collaboration between the Ministry for Internal Affairs, Internal Security and Home Affairs, MISHA, headed by Samuel Aruan. I'm sure you, if I say Samuel Aruan in Kaduna State, everyone knows this is a ministry or this is a commissioner who does not sleep. He keeps watching over everybody, okay? And then you can see how that relates to what we do as an emergency management agency, because once there is an impact in a community, we get to understand that the security has been taken there, everything is calm, but we need to also rehabilitate and resettle the people. One, provide them possibly with food materials, provide them with medical aid, provide them with avenues through which they can rebuild their life again. And so it's a continuous process, and where we have also dependable partners who are out there, the non-governmental organizations, projects of, for example, USAID, that are always willing to see where governance is happening in the right direction and are willing to support us to be able to overcome some of these challenges we have. So I will tell you, in Kaduna, for example, for us in SEMA that we're talking now, we agree that our options need to be open in such a way that the burden does not just lie with the state, but other actors who are willing to come in to support us to be able to help people to rebuild their lives once there's a security issue.
I'll still stay with that. I'll ask about the response that you're getting from this partnership, how it has been in Kaduna State, because again, businesses are all taking place in Kaduna State, and one would expect too that such businesses coming from outside or inside should owe the state some part of responsibility. Corporate social responsibility will be there. So what has been, how is the response like with this partnership that you're having?
I will tell you that we are truly in an exciting time, and I will say, one, there's been tremendous support from these partners, and that support can only can only be described because someone has made it possible for that environment that should enable you come in and even see that you can support. So the Kaduna State government has made that environment very okay, very conducive for you to see that yes, governance is happening, and so the support is coming in. We are relating very positively with UNICEF. We are relating possibly with USAID. Okay, we have the Red Cross, International Red Cross with us here in Kaduna, International Office for the Human Rights, and then the Office for Migration. We are all related. All of these agencies are relating with us, are collaborating with all of us. We have also the civil society end of the whole support, which helps us with the accountability framework mechanism to see exactly what we do, because they relate more with the communities. They are in the communities, they are within the communities. So they serve as the feedback mechanism, and that's most important to us, because we need to also understand the feeling of the people at that lower level. And that's why the civil society is very important, very critical to what we do.
Okay, and again, still with that, I want to talk about the challenges that SEMA faces. Very huge agency in terms of its commitment, to human beings, human lives, and all of that. And so the challenges are huge. Do you ever find yourself as these challenges overwhelming the agency? Have you found yourself in that situation?
Well, they certainly, I wouldn't say no, and I wouldn't say yes, because it's not all the time that you have 100% of your needs. Okay, there are times that yes, you will be faced with procedural issues that could delay what you're looking for in terms of how you implement your programs or your actions. And there are times where there are also community-based challenges that becomes an overwhelming situation for you. And I will say, for example, I may have challenge with quote unquote fire trucks. It is expected that I should have fire trucks everywhere. I know the expectations of people is that I should have fire trucks, for example, everywhere in every nook and cranny of the state. But governance is not run like that. Okay, we should open up rooms where people need to begin to need to collaborate with government. So institutions can open up these channels and find ways through which you can sign up agreements to be able to deliver services on behalf of the government, for you to also have some level of relief from government in other aspects of your business. That's how businesses or governance with businesses are run all over the world. You don't sit and think government is just about coming out to do. No, of course it will be overwhelming if there is no corresponding support from the other side of the game. So if I'm called, for example, a fire incident is happening and I'm called, the most overwhelming challenge that has always been in terms of us delivering service is about the behavior of people on the road today. For example, I will want to go in 5 minutes, I end up going in 30 minutes, and then I become the community becomes a major risk to the infrastructure of government, that is the machine, and our personnel are at risk, because we end up getting to the location because people on the road now move in terms of what? Managing space on the road, not in terms of what? The rules of driving. So that impacts what we do. A lot of times people don't understand the right of way of a fireman when he's trying to go and what? Provide relief. So it's an overwhelming situation. So behavior is overwhelming majorly to what we do. But I will tell you, if we can work on that, and that is another aspect of what we will be working on through constant, continuous engagement, to begin to see how we can shape the mindset of people. And I will tell you, no country has it all. No country has it all. But if you have a disciplined set of people, with the little you have, you will build heaven.
The program is Perspectives, and it's coming to you on Invicta 98.9. And we're looking at the State Emergency Management Agency and its activities, its challenges. And with us in the studios this morning, the Executive Secretary, Alhaji Abubakar Hassan. We'll come back after this break.
Let it linger as we feed your curiosity on 98.9 Invicta FM.
Welcome back. It's the program Perspectives this morning, and looking at activities of the State Emergency Management Agency. with its head, Alhaji Abubakar Hassan, Executive Secretary, telling us about what SEMA is doing in the state, and of course why it needs all to have our hands on deck to support this agency because of its numerous activities. I do know that there is also the National Emergency Agency, that's NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency, and we also have the state management emergency management agency. One would like to know, is there a collabo, or what relationship do we have with these two?
Yes, there is a great linkage between the state agency and the National Emergency Management Agency, and even from the names, one is national, one is state. So it means the law out there has come down to this level to ensure that we also create a state emergency management agency. So you can see the relationship, and each of them looking at these different levels of how governance can get to the level where there is that reduction in vulnerabilities of communities to different disasters across the entire country, looking at all the different layers of what we do at the lower levels in the state. Here in Kaduna State, I will tell you that we've gotten tremendous support from the National Emergency Management Agency. We conduct what we call different levels of periodic meetings with the agency. We've also had different levels of trainings, capacity building exercises that have been organized by the National Emergency Management Agency here in Kaduna, getting to see how prepared our people here, our staff can be in terms of readiness to be able to deal with disasters in Kaduna State. And we've had support in the form of machines or machinery from the National Emergency Management Agency to support what we do, most especially in areas of flooding, because most of the rafts that we get in our support coming from the National Emergency Agency, where we paddle in waters to see how we can save lives. So the relationship between the State Emergency Management Agency and the National Emergency Agency through the zonal office here in Kaduna has been greatly of support, and we truly appreciate that. And this is ongoing, this is continuous. We've had 2 stakeholder engagement sessions this year with the National Emergency Office here in Kaduna, and I'm sure more will be coming on our ways.
Is there a way that one can rate the level of what emergencies would take place or takes place in a state? That's to say that, Kaduna State is going with its own challenges, Plateau may have its own.
Yes.
Is there a way that you can measure and say that, yes, we're managing our own here in Kaduna State adequately or fairly?
Yeah, I will tell you. For me, I believe that we are managing our own levels of crisis, looking at our own internal peculiarities. So I wouldn't be talking about what happens at the borders of Kaduna State. However, it is mandatory as an objective for the State Emergency Management in Kaduna State to observe and assess the level of activities affecting our border states and see how that translates into our own peculiarities and see how we can begin to the
State Emergency Management Agency. You have seen them around. They are all around, flooding, fire disasters, talking about insecurity and all of that. You find them there. So what are some of your observations and what questions would you like to ask? I have with me the Executive Secretary, Alhaji Abubakar Hassan, with me in the studios. Take your calls now. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, DG Sema.
Good morning, sir.
ES Sema.
Executive Secretary.
Executive Secretary.
Yeah, I've heard your discussion and I'm very much happy with all your submissions.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, but Luca Ado calling from Marabarido.
Luca, let's say.
Luca.
Yeah, my contribution with regards to actually, in terms of SEMA, we should be looking at natural disaster.
What?
The natural disaster we could talk about is flood. But most of the disasters in this country are man-made disasters. And in Nigeria, we always believe on fire brigade action. Now there are a lot of houses built along the river bank, and I do not know until when there's flood that you see the government running helter-skelter. Why don't you actually involve the preventive measure That is, let's say by this time, one would expect that this will happen with in preventive measures. One, those children along those that have built their houses along the river bank, at least there's one we call Land Use Act. The government should enforce that at least all those within the river banks will be forced to leave that place. And if possibly to evolve the Concoursia system, when the Concoursia was the governor of Kano State, at least it discongested the cities and build a lot of houses outside. I think, especially here in Kaduna, we have a lot of land that actually people along the river bank could be removed there and be given land and be supported at least to construct their houses, rather than spending a lot. The trend is that this petrol that today that sort of a scarcity. A lot of people in Pakistan carrying petrol in gallons. So what can you advise the Philippines to do?
This issue of training and building capacity of the younger ones through catching them young, getting them to understand and appreciate all these issues around disaster management, so that children will also understand what they need to do to reduce vulnerabilities around what they do. When they see danger, they run away from it. So it's important, and we appreciate that recommendation. Malam Ahmed, who mentioned the issue of internally displaced persons, thank you for raising that observation. Yes, it's important that we don't just take relief items to these people and leave them. Yes, we have orphans, children who have been left as orphans, women who have been left as widows out there, and where we tend not to look after them, they may also be exposed to other dangers and become a risk in themselves. I agree with you. But to address all of that, the Kaduna State government, through the Resident Registration Agency and in collaboration with the State Emergency Management Agency, are already working to ensure that we register all internally displaced persons in Kaduna State. And I'm sure that's the beginning, because until you know who they are, until you know where they are and what actually took them out of their own communities, you may not be able to put credible actions, credible solutions to how we can address the plight of these internally displaced persons, who I believe in the larger economic sense, the government certainly is trying to open the economy in the state so that people can go into a lot of businesses in agriculture, a lot of businesses in dairy production, and so on and so forth. So it's important that we look at that. So Ahmed, thank you for that. And to the last caller who talked about the issue we woke up to in the last few days with respect to shortages in the premium motor spirit, otherwise called petrol, I will say that yes, it's dangerous, and we always say that people should not take fuel in jerrycans to their homes, because it is dangerous to do that, because people don't understand the need or how to take care of these things, and so it is a no, people shouldn't do it.
All right, still with your calls on numbers 081 40,000 989, 081 40,000 989, or 070 87 800 989. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Abba.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Aladdin.
Good morning.
Habu calling from Nasarawa.
Okay, let's hear you.
In fact, I really appreciate you people are talking so many things that I would like to choose in, sir.
Let's hear you.
In fact, before, listen to me very well, sir. Before, I don't like the governor of Kaduna State. But now, I love him so much, sir. So much, sir. But there is something I want him to help us with about security matter. If you can very well now, I don't know how people are looking at it. There are some areas, these people cannot go there and move freely. There are some areas, some people cannot go there and move freely. I know the past government has planted a bitterness on the ground. And now, the governor, Excellency, El-Rufai of Kaduna State have started a good war. I have never tested something belong to this government, but I have seen it now in Nasarawa. That is why I'm pleading. Let him do something possible to bring us together, to stop discrimination, to stop one-sided appointments, and bring people together so that our future, our next generation is better. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Abu. Again, interrelated.
Well, Malam Abu, on behalf of His Excellency Malam Nasser Ahmed El-Rufai, we appreciate your love for him. But in order to appreciate Malam properly, in order to love Malam Nasser El-Rufai properly, like you just said, I think it is important you begin to sit within your community, begin to bring elders together for a roundtable engagement with all your stakeholders there, understand and appreciate your issues, and where you identify early warning signals that could lead to any forms of crisis or disasters, please ensure that you run to the nearest law enforcement office and report such issues. And if it is an issue of disaster, for example flooding, or you've noticed that people within communities are dropping in dirt into drainages that could cause blockages, please report such issues to the State Emergency Management Agency so that we can quickly come and have a discussion and engagement with your community in Nasarawa. I'm sure when you do that, you will be expressing your love to Malam Nasser.
Okay, and still with your calls, you can take one or two calls before we bring it to a close. Hello, good morning. Still with your calls. Hello, good morning. We're still with your calls on 081 40989 or 070-87-800-989. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Is that Victor?
Yes, in Victor.
Please, I want to make my contribution on the issue of SEMA that
Yes.
discussing there.
Your name, please.
Please,
your name?
my name is Alabi Olaliko.
All right.
You see, most of the problem we are having today is as a result of government. They are not involved. How our city, involved. The government did not contribute anything to how city involved these days. Like the issue of fire.
Mr. Alabi,
Hello?
could you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Let's go on, please.
Government are not involved. How city come about? That's what I'm trying to say. Even from the onset.
Okay.
People a group of people will just find themselves in a place, they will start building, no layout, and then the issue of the aspect of neighborhood design, which government are supposed to involve even from the onset. Every neighborhood is supposed to have a fire station, like what the executive secretary is saying, that they cannot position fire service equipment in every location. If government are involved from the onset, this wouldn't be an issue. Even the issue of water, this thing, this was the issue of people building along the river bank. Even most of our rivers in Kaduna, they need to be dredged by now. Most of them are already, filled up. They need to be dredged. That can solve the problem. So most of these things, as a result, government are not involved from onset. That's my contribution.
Okay, Mr. Alabi, thank you on that. Yes.
Mr. Alabi, thank you for raising this observation of drawing the government's attention to the fact that the government needs to do more consultation with the people in helping them to organize how they live. Yes, I will agree with you, but you will also agree with me that the Kaduna State government has opened up that public accountability mechanism framework, even with the introduction of the discussions we have even in terms of budgets, where the government calls in different stakeholders to come in and examine the budgets that we have in the state. And you will agree with me that the budget explains exactly what the government is hoping to do in the following year. So through that process, I believe that all suggestions, recommendations of the different actors in different shapes in Kaduna State ought to have been taken at that particular point. But yes, I agree with you. We will continue to dialogue because this is a function of human interaction. And so the government will never stop interacting with people. And at any point in time where the attention of the government is drawn to say, look, you've not done enough in engaging us in discussing how our lives should be going forward, I'm sure the government is always listening, and they will come in and have that engagement.
And that's much that we can take on the program Perspectives this morning. Sorry, can't take any other call again because time is about up the ceiling. I'd like to thank our guest this morning, Alhaji Abubakar Hassan, Executive Secretary, State Emergency Management Agency, Kaduna State, for coming. Alhaji Abubakar, thank you very much.
Thank you, listeners out there. Thank you, Invicta 98.9 FM. Good morning and have a lovely Tuesday.
Thank you very much. And K-Chat, thank you for connecting us with the people. We'll come back with Perspectives tomorrow. Good morning.
212. What's up?
We challenge you to think of anything better.